Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita. Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajakacharya, Ashtotara Satishi Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajakacharya, Ashtotara Satishi Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pristaya Bhutare Srimati Giriraj Swami Niti Namne Namaste Bhakti Vedanta Swami Deve Nama Sankirtana Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Smastadishtarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today, this morning, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of the personality of Godhead. Ninth canto, Liberation. Chapter 18. And I believe it's from 33 to 37, is that correct? That's what Subal told me about yesterday. So I'll read 33 up to 37, then we'll do 37 together. Is that okay? Chapter 18, King Yayati regains his youth. Yadumcha purvasum chaiva devayani vyajayata druhyum chanum chapurum cha sarmishta varsha parvani. Translation. Devayani gave birth to Yadu and Turvasu, and Sarmishta gave birth to Druhyu and Anu and Puru. Text 34. Garbha sambhavam asurya bhartur vishnyana manini devayani piturgeham yayau krodha vimurchita. Translation. When the proud Devayani understood from outside sources that Sharmishta was pregnant by her husband, she was frenzied with anger. Thus she departed for her father's house. Priyam mangata kami vachobir upaimantrayan na prasadayitum sheke pada sambahanadibihi. Translation. King Yayati, who was very lusty, followed his wife, caught her, and tried to appease her by speaking pleasing words and massaging her feet, but he could not satisfy her by any means. Text 36. Shukrastam aha kupita strikamamrita purusha Tvam jara vishatam anda virupa karani nrinam. Translation. Shukracharya was extremely angry. You untruthful fool, lusting after women, you have done a great wrong, he said. I therefore curse you to be attacked and disfigured by old age and invalidity. Now we do 37. Shri Yayati Ruvacha Atriptosmi Adya Kamanam Brahmandu Hitarismate Vyatyasyatam yatha kamam Vayasayo bidasyati. Shri Yayati Ruvacha Atriptosmi adya kamanam Brahmandu hitarismate Vyatyasyatam yatha kamam vayasayo bidasyati. Sri Yayati ruvacha atriptosmyadya kamanam brahmandu hitarismate. Vyatyasyatam yatha kamam vayasayo bidasyati. Sri Yayati ruvacha atriptosmyadya kamanam brahmandu hitarismate. Vyatyasyaktata kaman vayasayo bidhasyati. Sri Yayati ruvacha atriptosmyadya kamanam brahmandu hitarismate. Vyatyasyatam kayata kamam vayasayo bidasyati. Sri Yayati ruvacha atriptosmyadya kamanam brahmandu hitarismate. Vyatyasyatam kamam vayasayo bidasyati. Sri Yayati uvacha. King Yayati said, Atripta, unsatisfied. Asmi, I am. Adya, till now. Kamanam, to satisfy my lusty desires. Brahman, O learned Brahmana. Duhitari, in connection with the daughter. Sma, in the past. Te, your. Vyatyasyatam, just exchange. Yatakamam, as long as you are lusty. Vayasa, with youth. Ya abidasyati, of one who agrees to exchange your old age for his youth. Translation. King Yayati said, O learned, worshipable Brahmana, I have not yet satisfied my lusty desires with your daughter. Shukracharya then replied, you may exchange your old age with someone who will agree to transfer his youth to you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When King Yayati said that he had not yet satisfied his lusty desires with Shukracharya's daughter, Shukracharya saw that it was against the interests of his own daughter for Yayati to continue in old age and invalidity. For certainly his lusty daughter would not be satisfied. Therefore, Shukracharya blessed his son-in-law by saying that he could exchange his old age for someone else's youth. He indicated that if Yayati's son would exchange his youth for Yayati's old age, Yayati could continue to enjoy sex with Devayani. Om Agyanatimirandasya Yananjana salakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So, one wonders what this story has to do in the Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Amala Purana. Does anybody know what that means? It just means the spotless Purana. That means there's no fault in it. And here, the story is about a king who's lusty and who has uncontrolled lusty desires. And this is angering one of his co-wives. So it seems to be a material story, you know, that you would find in the cinemas or something. But if we go back to the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a very nice verse. The third verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm trying to memorize it, so bear with me. Nigama kalpataror galitam palam sukham mukad amrita dravya alayam pipati bhagavatam rasam alayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. And the translation is that, "O thoughtful and expert devotees, relish the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ripened fruit, the mature fruit of all the Vedic knowledge. It has been sweetened. It has emanated from the mouth of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. And therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls." So that's one translation that's found in the Bhagavatam. There's another translation that's a little bit more elaborate from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. It is considered the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. It emanated from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami, and therefore it has become sweetened. O expert and thoughtful devotees, O thoughtful and expert devotees, you who are thoughtful and expert in relishing mellows, constantly taste the Srimad Bhagavatam. As long as you're not, O thoughtful devotees, as long as you're not absorbed in transcendental bliss, you should go on tasting the Srimad Bhagavatam, and when you are fully absorbed in bliss, you should go on tasting its mellows forever. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam is spotless Purana. It is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. And the stories that are in here eventually all lead up to stories about the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its different incarnations. So this first verse, second or third verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam is very nice because it's directing us to study the Srimad Bhagavatam with a view to relish its taste, the different mellows. So, what's the importance? What is the importance of relishing mellows? The importance of relishing mellows is that this is what Krishna consciousness is all about. And as a matter of fact, being alive, that's what it's all about. In the material world, we're trying to relish mellows by associating with mundane things that are temporary and only give fleeting pleasure. Whereas our real nature is to be engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, connected with Him through different engagements that we can that we learn from our spiritual master, that we're engaged by the authorities. But the ultimate goal is to relish mellows. It is said in the second verse of the Gurvastaka prayers that we chant every morning, is that the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual master, unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. So, whatever we do in Krishna consciousness, we should do it with a view to relish the mellows that's involved with performing devotional service. And because devotional service to the Lord, because the Lord Himself is unlimited, devotional service to the Lord is equally unlimited. So there's a tremendous variety of different activities that can be performed. But they have to be done in the mood of trying to relish the mellows of devotional service, the devotional mellows of pure devotional service. So that means that we're trying to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our actions, by our words, by our thoughts. And because when the Supreme Lord is pleased, we are also pleased. So let's see what kind of mellows we can find in this story of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have 4 characters in this drama taking place. We have King Yayati, who's lusty and can control his lust, and gets his wife. She's pregnant, and then her wife's friend, Sharmishta, also gets pregnant. And there's a whole story behind that, but I won't get into it. So there's also the other character is Shukracharya. Now Shukracharya, what's his role in life? Can anybody say what Shukracharya's role? What's he play? Yes, he's the spiritual master of the demons. And he pops up every once in a while in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Previously, Bali Maharaj in the 8th canto, I believe it was, was defeating all the demigods. So on one hand, we have the demigods. They're called suras, and they live in the upper planetary systems. They're heavenly. There's a lot of material pleasures there, unbounded practically. And on the other, the bottom of the universe is where the asuras live. Asuras means the demons. And they're constantly battling each other. Sometimes one party wins over another, and sometimes vice versa. The first party gets defeated by the second party. So Bali Maharaj was a very powerful king of the demons. He was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj and the great-grandson of Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj was the best of devotees. And Bali Maharaj, as his grandson, also was a great devotee, but he happened to be a king of the demons and acting under the orders of the spiritual master. He battled against the demons, the demigods, and he won. He took over control over the whole universe. And the demigods, being harassed by the demons, scattered here and there, they went and prayed to Lord Brahma, and with Lord Brahma they went to the ocean of the border of the ocean of milk and prayed to Kshirodakshayi Vishnu for protection. So Lord Vishnu appeared as Vamanadev and tricked Bali Maharaj into giving him 3 paces of land. And Vamanadev was a dwarf. He appeared as a dwarf, very beautiful dwarf, brahmachari. And so when Vamanadev asked for 3 paces of land, Bali Maharaj says, I am the emperor of the whole universe. You don't need to ask for 3 paces of land. I can give you a village, I can give you wives, anything you want, I can give you a whole planet. I said, well, no. Vamanadev said, well, if I can't be satisfied with 3 paces of land, I won't be satisfied with anything. I will just be hankering for more and more. So Bali Maharaj was ready to give him, but Shukracharya, his spiritual master, understood that this was Vishnu appearing as a dwarf and was going to trick him. And so he told Bali Maharaj, don't do it, because you'll lose everything. But Bali Maharaj understood that it was in his best interest to surrender to Bali Maharaj, to Vamanadev. So Bali Maharaj granted the wish of Vamanadev, and Vamanadev immediately expanded himself into his form as Urukrama, gigantic. With one pace, he took all the lower planetary system. With the next step, he took all the upper planetary systems, and with his big toe, he punctured through the universal covering and the Ganges water. The water that's surrounding the whole universe came pouring in through the hole, and that's the Ganges water. And then he said, well, where shall I place my 3rd step? I have taken 2 steps and there's nothing left. Where shall I take my 3rd step? So Bali Maharaj said, place it on my head. So in other words, he's surrendering. So there's a whole story that I don't know all about it, because I'm just beginning to study all these stories. But Vamanadev tied up Bali Maharaj and was chastising him And Vamanadev asked Shukracharya, well, what's his fault? What is the fault of your disciple? And there's a very nice verse that Shukracharya said that's really, really nice. It says, and actually this is something we follow. Prabhupada's instituted what this verse indicates. The verse is, mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalarha vastutaha sarvakaroti nishchidram anusankirtanam tava. And it says, if there may be discrepancies in the pronunciation of the mantras, or irregularities in following the regulative principles. There may be faults with the time, the place, the person performing the sacrifice, or the paraphernalia. But as long as your holy name is chanted, all errors are rectified. This is very important. And who's it coming from? It's coming from Shukracharya. So this little gem is coming from the spiritual master of the demons. We can accept him as our spiritual master too, because he's giving a very, very nice instruction. Simply by chanting the holy names, all discrepancies are corrected. So whenever we perform arti, or Guru Puja, or any function that we do, preaching function, it's the instruction from Srila Prabhupada that we should chant the holy names of the Lord, because this is what will make everything right with the place, the time, the persons, the activity, the mantras, and the paraphernalia. Everything will be corrected simply by introducing the chanting of the holy name in that performance. What time's the class go to? 8:30? So here we have Shukracharya's cursing Yayati. And it seems in many parts of the Bhagavatam there's cursings and counter-cursings going on that in the long run turn out to be blessings. Right now I'm studying the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and that part of it is Prajapati Daksha curses Lord Shiva, and he in turn gets cursed by Nandishvar, who's the foremost disciple of Lord Shiva. And the interesting thing about this, the moral behind this story, is that people that curse other people are generally influenced by the mode of passion. And being in the mode of passion means we identify with the body, with our position in society, with our level of education and culture, with our relatives, our lineage. But these are all related to the body that has actually nothing to do with the soul itself. So we have Daksha was cursing Lord Shiva for not offering him respects when he approached the arena of sacrifice. And neither Lord Brahma, his father, or Lord Shiva stood up to give him respects. And he took offense at this because he thought himself to be a very great personality. He's one of the Prajapatis. A Prajapati is one whose function is to generate population. So in the beginning of the universe was empty and it needed to be populated, and there's so many Prajapatis that were then given the job to populate the universe. So he had, I believe, 16 daughters, one of which was given to Lord Shiva, Sati. But Prajapati Daksha was so puffed up, and Daksha actually means expert in doing ritualistic activities. And so he was very expert at fruitive activities. And Lord Shiva, on the other hand, actually is his brother, but he took the position of his son-in-law by marrying his daughter. So in one sense, Lord Shiva was accepting a lower position to Daksha. So this is how Daksha was seeing things, is that, yeah, my father, Lord Brahma, didn't get up to show me respects because I'm his inferior. But Lord Shiva, who's accepted a position as my son-in-law, should have gotten up and shown me respect. And another thing about Lord Shiva is that he's one of the three main deities, you might say, of the universe. Lord Vishnu is in charge of the mode of goodness. Of course, he's not a demigod, he's the Supreme Lord himself, but he's assuming the position of a demigod in order to perform the maintenance of the universe, which is the mode of goodness. Lord Brahma, who's the first progenitor, is in charge of mode of passion, which is involved with creation. And then Lord Shiva is he's in charge of the mode of ignorance, and he's in charge of the destruction. So Lord Shiva is in the transcendental position, and he's compared to, there's the following comparison with him and Lord Vishnu, is that they're practically on the same level, in the same way that milk and yogurt are the same. Yogurt is produced from milk, and therefore it has many of the qualities of milk, but it's not the same as milk, because you cannot produce milk back from yogurt. It doesn't work the other way around. So Lord Shiva is a very, very powerful personality, and he's in the transcendental position, and therefore he's not attached, as Daksha was, to his body, to a residence, to his lineage, and he just simply lives underneath a tree, doesn't have a palace, is very renounced, is practically naked, smears his body with ashes from crematorium, wears a garland of skulls and human bones. And so this is the appearance of Lord Shiva, even though he's a great personality, the greatest Vaishnava, as a matter of fact. His appearance can be, from the material perspective, shocking, to say the least. So Daksha was insulting Lord Shiva because he felt offended by him. So he insulted him, calling all these different names as being poor, being dirty, and so on, being an association of ghosts and spirits and demons. So And he cursed Lord Shiva. I don't remember exactly what the curse was, but the curse is that he would always remain poor and not have any material wealth. Of course, Lord Shiva doesn't care anything about material wealth because he's in the transcendental position, as Subal indicated yesterday with his analogy with the lotus flower and lotus leaf, being in the water but above the water and not affected by the water. So that's the position of Lord Shiva. But Nandishvar, being the faithful and foremost disciple of Lord Shiva, he took offense. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, he did so rightfully. It is the duty of the disciple to make sure that the spiritual master is honored and not insulted. And if he is insulted, to take measures against that. Preferably by verbal arguments and defeating the opposing party. But Nandishvar cursed Daksha in return to get the face of a goat. And he cursed the Brahmanas also. And then Prabhupada said, well, he was mistaken. He went a little bit too far. So Nandishvar was also kind of influenced by the mode of passion. So, I remember it is said in the age of Kali that curses don't take effect because the Brahmins in the age of Kali have no Brahma Tejas. They're not powerful. Any curse that a Brahmin does will not take effect, just because we're weak. So, but I remember going through a divorce many years ago, more than 20 years ago, and I wanted to curse my ex-wife, but it didn't work. And now I'm glad it didn't work. So anyway, it's a very nice story in Srimad Bhagavatam. We need to mine. There's many gems in the Bhagavatam that we can take and for our benefit, make them ours. And since this is the December, and we have a marathon here, I kind of wanted to say a few words about that, book distribution. I have to admit that I'm about the worst book distributor there is on the planet. But somehow or other, I'm trying to get into the mood of compassion and distributing books. And so I've been reading this book by Sheshika Prabhu. It's called Our Family Business, and there are many, many tips and ways of approaching book distribution that we can make our own. And first question is, well, why should we distribute these books? And the nature of these books is that it's Prabhupada's, as a pure devotee, coming in the line of the spiritual masters, all the way from Lord Brahma, Lord Chaitanya, and the six Goswamis, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Thakur. They've all written books, and they do so for the benefit of the conditioned souls. So in this, simply by reading these books, we get to associate with the whole parampara from Prabhupada back to his spiritual master, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the six Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya, Vyasadeva, Narada Muni, all the way back up to Krishna. And these books, they're surcharged with devotion, prema. Now, one thing that I've realized is that everybody here, all devotees, they have this one thing, it's called Bhakti Lata Bij. It means the creeper of devotion, the seed of the creeper of devotion. And there's a nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, says, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bija. So these books, they're the condensed Guru Krishna Kripa, the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And simply by reading the books, we can get a taste, or conditioned souls can get a taste for devotional service. So this Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of the creeper of devotion, is a taste that we've acquired and we've come to like performing devotional service, either chanting or associating with devotees, reading the books, performing arti, or taking prasadam. All these different activities are joyful. And they're on a different level than any joy that we may find in the material world, because it goes on. It's ananda buddhi vardhanam, it keeps growing. So every devotee here has this creeper of devotion growing in the heart. And we nurture it by watering it. We water the plant by hearing and chanting, remembering Krishna, and also by giving it to others, speaking. So this December marathon is not simply about distributing books. Of course, that's very important, but it's about injecting this seed of devotion within the heart, acting as the representative of the spiritual master and of Krishna, and trying to get the non-devotees to get a taste for devotional service. So in many situations, it starts out with a tiny little act. Some little exchange. We give these books out, they give something in return. Or simply the fact that they appreciate the nature of a devotee. That in itself is enough to start giving a taste for associating with devotees, to appreciate, oh, this person is very nice, you know. It's what's called a Griyata Sukriti. So we go out and interact with the public, try to get them to take a book and hear the Mahamantra, and give a little bit of something in reciprocation, and that gets them started. It may not be this lifetime, but it'll be some lifetime, but it might be in this lifetime to get going. Now, I don't know how many here, I want to ask, how many here had a book as their first contact with devotional service? Me too. Well, actually, that's not quite right. As I was thinking about it, I was a student in Texas, University of Texas, in the 70s. And I remember being in bed in my apartment, and the radio came on, because that's how I woke up in the morning. But instead of mundane music, they had the story of Lord Varaha. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it right now. It was, never heard anything like that before. And I don't know if you guys have heard this, these productions that they had, Golden Avatar productions, the Krishna stories, really, really well done, super excellently done. It's flawless. And it was really nice. The radios, I guess the devotees, the ISKCON preaching center in Austin had given the tape to the radio station. The radio station liked it, and they played it on Sunday morning. It was really nice, and I really liked it too. And then later on, I was minding my own business, walking along the main drag at the University of Texas, and all of a sudden, an orange-clad genie popped up in front of me and plopped this big book in my hands and said, "Oh, you have to read this book. It's so nice. It's so nice." And I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. And I said, "Well, give a little donation." And all I had was a $20 bill in my wallet. And of course, he didn't have any change, so I gave him the whole $20 bill. And because I give him, and back then, $20, especially for a college student, you know, it was a pretty big donation. So I was determined to read the book cover to cover. It was Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And, you know, Prahlada Brahmachari, he was right. It was really nectar book, really nice. So that was in the spring of '72, and then in the fall of '72, in the summertime, I had a summer job selling Bibles door to door, and I didn't do any better with that than I do with distributing Prabhupada's books, but somehow or other, I was getting up early and chanting japa. And then by the time September rolled around, it was time to enroll for the university semester. I decided couldn't see myself doing it, so I joined the temple there. But it was a book, really, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is a really, really nice book, because it goes all the way from the beginning stages of "you're not this body," all the way to the different mellows of devotion that is shared between Krishna and Radharani and all these devotees. It's very nice. It takes you all the way up to the highest stage of love of Godhead, you know. So from reading that book, I got a taste. This is nice. Chanting the holy name, it's nice, you know. And it was because of the preaching efforts of a handful of devotees, you know, in Austin. So anyway, 8:29. If there's any questions, Jai Baladev.
Hare Krishna, Prema Bhakti Prabhu. Thank you for your class, and
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for giving Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Yeah, my new name, I got reinitiated by Giriraj Maharaj. My new name is Premi Bhakta Das.
Premi Bhakta Das.
Yeah,
Hare
so
Krishna.
switch.
I have a comment and a question. You were mentioning chanting the holy name and also the pastime Lord Shiva and Daksha. This one point I like to appreciate is that this verse is talking about lust or any enemy, and naturally when you fight an enemy, you need a weapon. That's best. And you were mentioning the holy name. The Chaitanya, it says Kali Kali Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar Nam Hoite Hoi Sarva Jaganishtar, that the Lord has descended in his age with the primary weapon, which is his holy name. But one point that Giridhari was making the other day, and I really appreciate it. He says we need to sharpen our intelligence. And we hear that sometimes the holy name is not enough. You need to sharpen it with your character. Because there's a verse that says, this is a point I like to keep in mind all the time. It's from the Adi Leela, chapter 8, verse 16. Bahu Jamakari Yadi Shravanam Kirtan, Tabutana Paya Krishna Pade Prema Dan. Even if you chant the holy name for many births, you'll still not get the prema, the love, if you commit offenses. And in that purport, Prabhupada mentions that devotees should strictly follow being more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, etc. So my question is related to the Lord Shiva pastime. In that pastime where Lord Shiva ignored Daksha, he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't even know Daksha was there. It wasn't on purpose. So a lot of times there's many pastimes like that. There was a king named, I forgot the king's name, but he had a daughter named Sukanya. And Sukanya had to marry a sage named Shravanamodi because she committed offense against him. Now this is a very old and ugly sage. And long story short, Shravanamodi wanted to become young for Sukanya. So he dipped into some magical lake and became young. Long story short, her father came back to visit them, and he started criticizing his daughter for cheating on her older husband. He jumped to a conclusion. Same with Daksha, he jumped to a conclusion. So a lot of times when we associate with devotees, we may have this tendency, oh, they ignored me on purpose. They could be going through some major crisis in their life. So how do we give up this mentality of, jumping to conclusion, giving devotees benefit of doubts? Because in the end, people may go through difficulties, but even if they do it on purpose, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not like the end of the world, but a lot of times we jump to conclusions and write blogs about it and gossip. So maybe you could speak some of the points about giving devotees benefit of the doubt.
Well, the third verse from Shikshastaka, as you mentioned, Trinadapi Shunichina. So amanina manadena means to be ready to offer respect to others without wanting any respect for oneself. So this is something that has to be cultivated. And we have to develop tolerance. And so there's two parts to this. Amanina manadena is very important because we have to recognize it's not an artificial thing. We have to recognize, especially with devotees, but not just with devotees, also with so-called non-devotees. We have to recognize that they're parts and parcel of Krishna. But with the devotees, we have to recognize that they have this bhakti lata bij, they have this taste for devotional service, and it's very, very rare. It's a very rare thing, less than 1 in a million. You see how many devotees there are in the world, and how many non-devotees. It's just like, just practically 1 in a billion. Because it's not just human beings, but living entities too. The living entities are practically unlimited, but a devotee is very rare. And he's developing this taste for Krishna consciousness at whatever level they may be. It's still glorious. So devotees are glorious. And on the other hand, we have to say, take the humble point for ourselves, to learn to be tolerant. And sometimes I'm glad when I'm neglected or not recognized. It makes me happy because I'm learning to be tolerant and not to be upset by it. So if somebody walks by me, doesn't even say hi or anything, I'll say, well, in one sense, I should be happy because he's teaching me to be tolerant and humble, right? So it's something that we have to cultivate and work on. You know, it's like my wife and I, we've been married, we have a very nice marriage now, but it wasn't always so. It was very difficult. There was a lot of adjustments that had to make. We had to earn each other's trust and so on. And so marriage is something you have to work on. You have to work on it all the time. It's not, and you've got to keep working at it. And in the same way that marriage is constant work, our relationship that we're developing with Krishna and the devotee and his devotees requires work on our part. We have to follow the process. We have to mostly work on ourselves. And you know, there's 26 qualities of a pure devotee, and if we look at them, try to look at them objectively, looking at ourselves, we'll see that, well, we're a long way from that. You know, I've been reading, because I just got reinitiated last month, and it was something I was wanting to do ever since, you know, my first guru fell down and I fell down, and I needed to be reconnected, you know. And although I got support, you know, Shiksha gurus and stuff, I wanted something more. So I started reading this very nice book by Subhananda Prabhu, Subhananda. It's called The Spiritual Master and the Disciple. And he's written other books, Srinam Amrita, also they're compilations of everything Prabhupada wrote about this particular topic. So Prabhupada Subhananda collected all these different writings that Prabhupada had on the theme of the spiritual master and the disciple. And we're all meant to be spiritual masters. We're supposed to come to the level of being spiritual masters. Prabhupada wanted us to be spiritual masters. Way back in 73, he had a plan where by 75, his leading disciples would become spiritual masters and start initiating, and the movement would continue growing. We're meant to become spiritual masters, and by reading this book, I can see that I am so far away. You know, just the 8 prayers to the spiritual master, Shri Guru Vastakam. There's many of the qualifications of the spiritual master are there. You know, he's expert in deity worship. You know, dress. His spiritual master is always engaged in the worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and engages his disciples in such worship. Well, I'm very far from that, you know. And the spiritual master is always gladdened by this Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes he feels quivering in his body, his hairs stand on end, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. Well, I'm very far from that too, you know. But somehow or other, we have to cultivate all these qualities, you know. Did that answer your question? So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.